So this is a recollection of my memories of the Tattersall Farm family on North Broadway in Haverhill, Massachusetts, when I knew them in the 1990s. The Tattersall Farm family, when I was a kid, consisted of sisters Helen, Harriett, Mary Alice, and their brother John, the surviving brother and sisters of the family. The family had been around since the 1800s, and they were the surviving family members. They were now in elderly age. And my dad was official land giver on Saturdays after his father, my grandfather, stepped down. My grandfather used to cut the grass for them and do tasks for them on every Saturday and take them places. And my dad took over his duties when my grandfather was in his early 60s or so. This is the only photo I've seen of the family together. The first person on the left, I believe, is Harriet. No, it's Mary Alice, the oldest. In the middle is Helen. And on the right side is Harriet. And next to her is her brother, John. And the two people in the back are younger family members. And then my parents, at my mom's bridal shower, they're also there. The three sisters are right there. And you can see them right here in the clip I'm replaying here. Alice is on the left in blue. Harry is in the far back, and Helen is on the right side. They're all wearing glasses. They were in their late early 70s at the time. So now I'm going to talk about the family when I knew them, when my dad used to bring me to the house on Saturdays in the spring, summer, and early fall in the 1990s. I started going to the Tattersall Farm, I believe, was in 1991, I believe it was, in the spring. And I met them. There was Helen, she was the youngest at the time. And then there was the other two sisters, Harriet and Mary Alice, or they called her Alice, and their brother John. They were all very elderly. They were in their most likely close to getting to mid-80s at the time when I first met them. I was only 8 years old. And my dad, he wanted to plant a pine tree in the back, because McDonald's was giving out pine trees for Earth Day. And Harriet goes, "Oh, sure, guy. I'm Mark. Yeah. Harriet would always talk like that. She'd always confuse my name with my dad's name. She'd say, "Oh, sure, guy. Mark. I'm Mark." Harriet was the lead of the family. Alice was the oldest and the one in charge for sure of the money and everything and what was going on with the house. But Harriet was the one who was in control. She was the one who cooked for the family. She had a sign, it was called Harriet's Kitchen. And she was always very talkative with me when I go to the house with my dad. All the sisters were school teachers. So when I was visiting them, they always wanted to know how I was doing in school. Alice was more soft-spoken. She was older, much older. I think she was the oldest one. And she would go, "Mark, do you like reading? Do you like spelling?" She would talk like that. But Harriet was just so sprite and, energetic. Hi, Mark. Mark. Hi, how you doing, Mark? Hi. Always smiling and always happy to see me and my dad and my family. They were all each other had. They were pushing, they were pushing the grave. They were almost 90 when I met them at the time, but they all still lived there at the farm on North Broadway. And they always made sure that the farm was upkept because their relatives, their parents, and then their other brother or whoever was before them, they would run the farm until they passed, and then it was left to them. So, and then John was very soft-spoken as well, just like his sister Alice. He'd be sitting outside. My dad would take him around, driving around North Broadway. Next door to the Tattersall Farm, there was a golf course, and they sold land there to make houses. And then John also had land across the street, and it was called John's Land. It was still vacant. I think it's still vacant today. I don't think they built anything there. Maybe it's for preservation. I don't know. So I remember in like the mid-90s, maybe 94, 95, my dad drove John around the golf course where the new houses were. And he kept going, Jesus, oh my Jesus, Jesus, oh wow, look at those houses, wow, Jesus. He was so impressed with them. They were brand new around the early 90s. So the first sister to pass away that I knew was the youngest. That was Helen. I remember she fell. The first day I met her, she fell. She took a fall, and my dad had to pick her up. And she died several months later in 1991. And then it was just Harriet, Alice, and John that lived there into the 1990s. They had a dog named Bunker. And then that dog passed away too. That dog passed away, I think, maybe 1995, 96, I think. Or maybe before then. It was in the early to mid-90s it passed away. And then they never had a dog again. But the doghouse, I think, was still there near the big shrubs right near the side door to go into the house. The pine shrubs. So the Tattersall farm, my dad would go every spring throughout the 90s, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, and 96, and 97. And in 97, I remember the last time I went there with my dad in 97 in the summer. My grandfather had just passed away, my dad's father, Vito, my nonno. And then Harriet goes, oh, man, that guy, Vito was a fighter. He was such a fighter. He was a fighter. We miss him. We miss him. And then John had just passed away as well. The brother John had just passed away that summer of 97, I think, or before then. And then my dad goes, how are you guys getting on without him? And then Harriet goes, oh, guy, we miss him. We miss him. We miss him. And that was the last thing I remember Harriet saying ever. Because a couple of weeks later, I think it was also in 97, she passed away. So it was just down to Mary Alice. She was the surviving sibling of the family. So the attorney took over the estate. I think his name is John Cleary at the time. I don't know if they still have the same attorney. And my dad was granted the permission to stay on as land giver as long as he was needed. So he stayed on 97, 98, 99. He was there all those years. I mean, I think they had him before even Mary Alice passed away. Mary Alice lived until 1999, I think it was February, and then she passed away. She was almost 100 when she passed away, or close to it. So it's incredible they lived that long. And like my grandparents on my mom's side, they didn't have much. They didn't have no air conditioner, I believe. Maybe they had some things to keep them cool in the summer, but, they didn't have much. They had all old stuff. It was antique from the 1900s, 1920s, 30s, 40s, 50s. But they were such nice people. I remember Harriet was the cook. Every time I go into the house, it would smell like ham, salted ham all the time. And they slept in straw beds. Their beds were they were filled with straw. And they had all this antique furniture from like the 50s, 40s, 30s. It was so antique. The dining room, the kitchen, the living room. And they loved flowers. They loved trees. My dad bought them he took them to Lashley Brother in Methuen to buy, I think, a dogwood tree. I think it was a purple dogwood. And they put it near the rose bush in the front, right in front of a rose bush on the side of the house. I remember Alice wanted one. She goes, I want to buy a dogwood, guy. I want to buy a dogwood tree, a dogwood. And that's how Alice used to talk like that. She was very slow when she talked, but very soft-spoken. Guy, I want to buy a dogwood tree. But Harriet, oh, hi, Mark. I mean, guy, Mark. Hi, I'm a guy, Mark. I'm a guy, me. I'm a guy. And, yeah. And Harriet would tell my dad, Guy, when we go, the will, you're in it. But they had left, Mary Alice had changed the will, the final will, after Harriet died, and they left everything to the city of Haverhill. So my dad didn't care. My dad just liked them as people. He loved them. We treated them like family, like they were like grandparents to me, and they were like grandparents to my dad, and like great grandparents to me. That because they were so old at the time. They were like the oldest people I knew. I'm trying to think back. That's as much as I really know about the family. When I used to go on Saturdays, I didn't go many Saturdays, but I remember Harriet was my favorite. She was always so sprite and energetic. Hi, guy. I mean, Mark, a guy. I'm Mark. And she'd always mess my name up, my dad's name up all the time. And then Alice was very soft-spoken. Hello, hi, Mark, do you like reading? Do you like spelling? And John was just like, Jesus, oh, wow. Oh, man, I can't believe that. Those houses. And they were just very, very nice people. They had a few visitors to the house one time. I remember that. One girl came over one time. She brought some kind of like a cake or something, a pie. And Harriet was like, yeah, let's have some coffee and cake. Yeah, great. So they always welcomed visitors to the house all the time and guests. And they were just very nice people. And those are some memories I remember of the Tattersall family on North Broadway throughout the 1990s, the last surviving members. Okay, so one thing I left out of my recollection of the Tattersall family is they had a light blue, I believe it was a Ford Escort, probably from like the late 1970s, early 1980s. And my dad, when Mary Alice wanted to talk about her, I think she had to go visit someone down the street, a street below North Broadway. There was someone who worked on lawnmowers, and the lawnmower wasn't working or something, so my dad had to go there to talk to some guy about it. And she didn't want to drive in my dad's car. She wanted my dad to drive the Ford Escort there. And I came with them. Oh, my God. The floor was like to the ground. It was like right to the street. I was like so scared. That's the only thing I remember about that car. It was a Ford Escort. It was light blue. And it was like, I was afraid I was going to fall out of it. Like we were going to fall right through to the ground. And my dad was land giver there until I believe 2000. He stayed on one more year after she passed away, Mary Alice. And then he got a job at the Haverhill Historical Society. They recommended him there. The lawyer of the Tattersall's, he recommended my dad to the Haverhill Historical Society. And then my dad did that every Saturday in the spring from like the early 2000s until my dad couldn't do it anymore in like maybe 2008 or 9 or so. Maybe even before then. And then that was it. My dad would like cut the grass. He would rake the leaves in the fall, the chestnuts in the front. He would trim the hedges around the house, plant trees, prune trees, wash the floors for them if they needed it, and take them places if they needed to go places on Saturdays. And they were just the nicest people, and I'll never forget them, the Tattersall family.